We're here today on a newly installed select circuit Generac automatic generator system, and this generator here is an 18 kW. Once again, only running a selected items, which is different than the whole house option that we showed in previous videos. This is a typical installation on the end of a home where you have to stay 5 foot away from any windows or openings, or 3 foot in front of the gas meter. That's why it's set off the house so far. But it fits well on the end of the house, and that's where the customer was wanted the generator. So this generator is identically to the larger generators that we showed you in the whole house option as far as the physical size. The physical size is identical, footprint's the same. It's just internal components are a little bit smaller, and that's where you get the smaller kW. This is an 18. You do a 14, 10, right on down. So so this generator is going to basically, it's going to run when the power goes out, just like the whole house option, but the select circuit option is only going to run those selected items, and so that's where you would choose, and we'll go to that transfer switch and look at what we selected here for this client, and but that's where you'll choose those most sensitive components to your application. So this generator has the same EV controller, EV2 controller on it. The breaker for the unit to disconnect from the house is right here. So if the generator is running, we needed to shut down the power going to the house for some reason. We can shut that off, and that shuts the power. This also has two, much like all the other ones, two emergency shutdowns, which is different than the breaker I just showed you. And one of those is inside here, down next to the engine, and that's an emergency shutdown, fire situation, some sort of emergency event. There's also one back behind where this door lid is raised. There's one on the very back here. If those somehow maybe they're accidentally shut to the off position, it will disable your generator, and it will not function properly. And there is a hourglass on the outside of each one of these units that basically has a window that you can view the kind of at a glance status of the generator, and this generator has a green light, which means it's ready to run. If I activate the alarm, it will activate a red light that basically says the unit shut down and cannot operate until that alarm is cleared. Other things that would activate a alarm situation would be low oil, high temperature, RPM sense loss, and there's a couple other ones like overspeed, which is a high running of the RPMs. Those would all shut it down, go to this alarm state, and would need to be reset, or in those cases they would need to be repaired and then reset, and then back to active auto position. So right now it's showing a green light and a flashing red light, which means that we've activated this alarm, and in order to reset that alarm, we have to make sure that the condition is no longer present, and if the condition is present, we need to free that condition up, and by pressing enter, and then once we press enter and off, that takes this back to a normal state, and then we go back to auto, and now it's ready to run in the event it had a power outage. It's going to exercise its weekly cycle. These units run about 7 minutes, and it's all programmed inside the controller when you want that to run, whether it's every week or every other week. That's all something that can be customer set. We suggest you run them every week so that you know there's no question, oh, did it run last week? You can make yourself available so that you can hear it run. And if it's got a green light on, you know that it's exercised last week and it's set to run this week. And so, so we need to make sure that we are actively checking to make sure this green light's on. There's also other ways that we can be alerted if there's a problem. One of them is fleet, which we're going to get into a video on fleet later down the road, but the generators here today are set up with a Wi-Fi connection, that Wi-Fi connection, if it's active and connected to the customer's network, and the customer has purchased the monitoring fee for that, then we can actually view that from our office. Customer can view the condition of these generators. So right now I'm going to go to manual mode, which is going to let the unit run, and that's a mode that we would use when we're doing a maintenance to confirm that everything's still back and operational and the engine's going to run, and that the oil's set at the right state and everything. So so once we send the manual command and it starts, in order to shut it off, it's not going to shut off on its own. We have to physically shut it off, push the off position, and then go back to auto. So that's how you'd run it manually. If you was concerned you was going away on a maybe a extended vacation or something like that, and you got a green light, but maybe that's not a great enough comfort level for you, you're welcome to start it manually to confirm that it's going to run. Just make sure we go back to auto, or it won't run during the next outage. If we're going to do any type of maintenance or look at the unit, take the door off, anything like that, we want to shut it off. And so this door comes off very simply. Basically, you just lift up on it, and so the unit, you can activate and do any type of maintenance that's needed here. To check the oil, it's very simple. Basically, you just grab the dipstick, and on this model, it's the dipstick and oil fill are all one, and you pull it out, and you'll see that this one is in between the dots. Very simply, there's the oil fill. There's where you're draining oil. This one's a little different in the way that you check and add oil, because it's one place versus having a separate dipstick. So the smaller ones are built that way because the engine's smaller. So that's pretty much all to see in here. You have a metallic plate here that has all your data on it for how much this generator produces, the amperage, the serial number and the model number, and sometimes you'll be asked that if you make a call to somebody looking for parts or something, and that's where you find that. So the door just slides on, no hardware to take loose, no wrenches needed. There is two locks on the top of this lid that shut, and you can lock the unit if you need to. The lids are really heavy. When I say heavy, they're not hard to operate, but they're heavy enough to where really the wind's not going to blow it up. So locking it isn't an essential thing for, just the wind or something like that. So that's pretty much all to see here. We're going to take a trip into the transfer switch, and on this case, this transfer switch is in the basement, and we'll show you a select circuit transfer switch. All right, we're back down here in the customer's basement, just coming from outside at the orientation on the generator itself, and now we're in here at the transfer switch. And this application here is a select circuit transfer switch, and it's coupled here with the customer's electric panel. And so we're going to dive into kind of some of the things and the way this is connected and the circuits that's on the generator. So once again, a select circuit is just those essential items that a customer deems necessary during an outage. So some of them circuits might be refrigerator, furnace, sump pump, garage door opener, microwave, master bedroom, master bath, TV, great room, those type of things. Sometimes air conditioner, and so you can get the nucleus of your home. You can customize it for your exact situation. And so a lot of times these applications can be more reasonable for a customer to get into. I wouldn't call it entry level. It's just as good as a whole house application. It's just not running as many items. So So anyway, let's take a look at that here. So this here's the customer's main distribution panel. You can see this is a conduit that's between it and the transfer switch. And so just like most other panels that maybe you've seen in the past, this has just typical toggle style breakers, main breaker, toggle style breakers. And what we've done in this retrofitting to this situation, because we didn't put this in during construction of the home, the customer had us come in after construction was complete. So we retrofitted this to the customer's main panel. We got a list from the customer. We talked to the customer about the items that they wanted. We made sure that those items were satisfactory. And we come in to this panel via that conduit with some wires. We extended those circuits over to this transfer switch. We added a main breaker for the transfer switch. It's a sub-feed breaker is really what it is for this transfer switch. And so that sub-feed breaker is basically activating this panel in utility conditions. So right now the customer has utility power. All of these circuits are powered up. The selected items in here are powered up via this breaker, and it's treated like a sub panel. And so underneath this cover, which is oftentimes kind of not thought about, is the selected items that are actually on and protected by the generator. So this customer selected these circuits. We put them in the select circuit transfer switch. This transfer switch functions just like the whole house transfer switches. It just has basically, it's kind of all inclusive. Everything's in one. So you have the protected circuits and the transfer switch mechanism at the top. So why would you ever need in here? The same reason you need in this panel. If one of the common things that we get calls to our office about, especially on generators that were installed by others, is something's not working in their home. And so they've already went down to the panel. They've seen that all the breakers in here are on, but they failed to take this cover off and review any breakers in this panel. So sometimes it happens with, customers forget that there's breakers in there. We understand all that. And so that is one of the purposes of this video, is to help tie those things together and give another resource to our clients and to those that may not realize that there are breakers behind that cover. There also is a manual function to this generator and transfer switch system. So you can start the generator manually, or maybe it started automatically, but it didn't transfer properly. So you're not on generator power. There's no power in the house. The generator breaker's on that we showed you earlier, but yet there's still no power being transferred to the house. So you would take a look at this. Up as utility. It tells you exactly how to perform this manual function right here on the sticker. Down is generator power, and so there's a yellow square with a circle hole in it, and you can put a override lever in there and pull down. That lever is present with the generator package. So that's how you would, obviously you would have to make sure the generator is running before you did that. You may even be calling in for more expertise on how to do that, but we could certainly, we've done it before, walk people through that so that they can get up and running, and we'll get a truck dispatched to them, whatever the case may be, but at least they can get up and running during an outage. So so that's kind of everything here in a nutshell, except as these circuits can be combined, can overload that breaker in the event that maybe it wasn't sized properly, maybe there was a specific load that's not typical to these circuits that somebody applied, and it caused the feed breaker to trip. that would constitute a simulated outage. Basically, the generator is going to think that the power failed, because it did, because it's getting all its information from here. And if this breaker's off, the generator's going to come on, it's going to run, and it's going to provide power to these. But you're also going to have power to these other ones because the main breaker is getting utility. So if that happened if you haven't experienced that, you might check that breaker. It may have tripped or be in the off position. Maybe somebody accidentally shut it off. They were trying to shut something else off or whatever and bumped it. That happens. Make sure you turn that breaker back on. The generator will sense that. It'll see that the power has been restored. It'll shut off after a couple minutes of cool down, and then it'll go back to, right before it does that, it'll transfer back, go back to utility state, and all's well. It is how we activate and initiate what we call a blackout during our maintenance tests. We basically shut that breaker off in this scenario and force the generator to start and force it to supply power so that we can confirm that the operation is functioning as it should. That way, when we leave from a maintenance, we know that the transfer switch also was exercised and it's working properly. So, so that's kind of all the things that are associated with a select circuit transfer switch application. And it's, in this case, it's coupled with an 18 kW automatic generator and supplying power. So like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching our video.